It was mine. Father had signed it over to him last year along with the Lassiter and 2 other ships, just as he had signed over 4 similar ships to Warren. Why aren't you in Chicago? Warren leaned against the side of the window and smirked. I see you've got a pretty view of the Beaumont from your office. Or rather what's left of her, since your inept crew decided to smash a $40,000 vessel. I was piloting when we hit those rocks. Piloting in a blizzard, without the aid of the Eagle Harbor lighthouse to guide him to harbor. The truth sounded inane even to him. The ship never should have been on the water during such a storm. So, it's all your fault, is it? Either way, Father's livid. He wants you back home. Yes, well... Gilbert fiddled with a small scratch in the smooth molding along the window. Perhaps I don't want to see him. Warren smirked again, that taunting grin which compelled women all over the Great Lakes to fall into his arms the moment he arrived in port. The one that made Mother beam and Father sign over the better ships to Warren. Gilbert held back his sigh. Was he the only one who saw the mocking curl at the edge of Warren's lips? The cold glint in his eyes? Good luck avoiding Father. Warren surveyed the street below as though he were some medieval lord in the land below his fiefdom. So has anything interesting happened around here? Besides you sinking the Beaumont, that is? He muffled a yawn. It looks the same as always. If Warren only knew. Gilbert turned away from the window and strode to his desk. Boring as ever. For someone who finds it boring, you sure spend a lot of time here. Gilbert plopped down and took up his pencil without glancing at his brother. Why do you care? I have to run my part of the business from here for a bit. How was it that he was leaving Eagle Harbor when he'd rather stay, and Warren was staying when he'd rather leave? Your office is next door. Gilbert jutted his chin toward the far wall where a sofa piled with paperwork and reports sat. Your business would be better handled over there. Warren straightened and looked around the office. Tisk, tisk. You're awful quick to get rid of the brother you haven't seen in 3 months. I've work to do. He moved the ledger he'd been studying closer, the one that proved he needed to come up with over $11,000 to replace the Beaumont and its cargo, and that wouldn't cover the extra $5,000 insurance wasn't going to pay him for the prototype of a shipping crane he'd had aboard, the crane he'd spent the past 4 years of his life inventing, perfecting, and finally building. Talking to Warren or facing $16,000 in debt. Choices, choices. I see your old friend is still fishing. Warren leaned back against the window molding as though he hadn't been asked to leave. I'm surprised one of you hasn't killed the other by now. Gilbert's hand stiffened on his ledger. His brother could only be talking about one man. Cummings and I have made amends. Amends? That sounds interesting. Warren drew out his words, his head cocked to the side. It's not. And he was a liar, because amends didn't begin to describe what had transpired between him and Elijah Cummings, and his brother would find the story very interesting, though he'd probably hear the tale the second he headed to the brothel tonight. How long did you say you were staying again? Please let him leave tomorrow. I'll even endure a trip to Chicago with him on the Lassiter if it means I can get away from here before he hears the scuttlebutt. Warren shrugged, but the movement was stiff and jerky. A month, maybe 2. 2 months in Eagle Harbor? His brother? Maybe I should be asking you if anything new has happened. You must have really erred if you have to stay that long. The little muscle on the side of Warren's jaw clenched. What about Cummings's sister? Always was a looker. She married yet? Or is she still tromping around in trousers like a man? Had Warren seen Rebekah? Gilbert shot out of his chair, knocking his neatly stacked pile of steam engine diagrams to the floor.